Hello, I'm Edoardo Volta. I'm the SVP of Partnership and Business Development at Curve. I think the key here is to think about bank as the depository of trust from customers. So they hold a lot of trust. They've been around for several years and they've delivered good services to their customer. However, with the regulation changes and with the digital innovation pace picking up, what banks are struggling to do is to keep up with the changes. And I think one of the key words for them to be able to stay competitive is collaboration. Banks and fintech collaborating together to deliver better services to their customer is really the key for fintech to scale and bank to keep the competition level. Let me give an example specifically to Curve, which is really close to our heart and something that we're working with our partners. The idea, for example, is to launch an effective digital wallet and an innovative and different digital wallet takes a lot of time and development. Curve has done that. They developed a wallet which is different from the incumbent wallets of Apple and Google, deliver more value to customer, and provide a different user experience. Banks can leverage the Curve wallet to deliver that solution to their customer. Banks already have a huge trust and a huge presence in the market. And so that collaboration allows them to develop new solution to customer and provide new solution to customer without the incumbency of developing the solution themselves. So I think that's really the key from my perspective, that collaboration between a fintech like Curve and larger banks to drive innovation. I don't know if it's up to me to really tell banks what they need to do, because banks are already expert in that security space and in that anti-fraud space. However, what they really need to think about when they, for example, partner with a company like Curve and work in the digital space is how do they prevent fraud? How do they leverage machine learning transaction monitoring, which is something that Curve does, and how can they leverage the data of the industry to make better decisions for their customer. In our case, for example, being a wallet, being a card above all cards, we basically have a huge amount of data on our customer. The behavior of our customer helps us understand and make better decision on when to approve or decline a transaction and when to flag a transaction as a potential fraud or not. Using this machine learning transaction monitoring is very important and something the bank could benefit from. Obviously, also with Gen AI, there are new type of fraud coming up. We know about fraud in around the account opening phase, where the fraudsters are using fake profile to identify. So monitoring that process and having tools that allow them to prevent that and to only let the good customer in and not the fraudster is absolutely key for a bank. Those are all things that Curve does on a regular basis. And again, it goes back to my previous question. When a fintech, which is advanced in those monitoring and fraud prevention, collaborate with the bank, which has got scale and trust, you can really deliver a better service and more safer service to your customer. In order for a bank to be able to increase customer adoption engagement, it's all about the shift of becoming customer-centric. The banks have traditionally struggled to keep up with the user experience. Customer wants the safety of a bank, but want the convenience of a fintech, wants the convenience and the simple user experience. They want to do everything at the click of a button. They don't want to have to call or to have to write. They want in-app servicing. They want in-app decision-making and in-app and immediate decision so they can move to the next phase of an upgrade of a product or taking a new product from the bank. So that user experience needs to be seamless. As I said, banks have struggled in the past because of their legacy technology to keep up with that user experience. It brings back to the topic, and I know it's my theme here, is the collaboration. So if a bank knows how to collaborate better with the fintech who tend to provide better user experience, they can bring their trust and their security and their infrastructure to the 21st century and give customer that better engagement. When a customer has this UX that they want, they tend to engage with the app daily. And the daily engagement brings repeat spend, brings repeat usage, and brings a more loyal customer. So I think it's all in the UX and the convenience of that UX. That's where they need to invest in, and invest in potential partnership if they can't deliver it themselves. For us, I mean, when we talk about digital wallets, it's all about that wallet compatible product and services. So the idea is, when you want to provide a better digital wallet experience, you need to think about what does the customer want? How do you can preempt what the customer wants and give them what they need? Let's think about it, for example, from a shopping experience. Some people love shopping, some people don't. And the people that don't might want to be much more quick in their shopping selection and finding out what the options are out there, if they need to buy a suit or a bag or a pair of shoes, and make a decision quickly. Through the digital wallet experience, by integrating, for example, AI and agentic AI, which is something that is a hot topic at the moment in the industry, you can effectively provide that information. You know how the customer spends, you know how the customer behaves. If you can preempt their needs by telling them these are a selection of products that you might be interested in, and all the customer has to do is click a button and get to the website of the supplier, make the purchase without having to think it through too much or investing too much time, that's an excellent service that you are providing. And effectively, it's all about leveraging technology like AI and the whole online shopping, bring them together and give customers something that delights the experience and just doesn't meet their expectation. It makes them extremely likely to want to stay in that environment, continue using it. That's an example. Obviously, we've already talked a little bit about what goes on in the background, which is all the machine learning and prevention of fraud that needs to keep on being used. These are not necessarily new technology, but it's an evolution of existing technology that needs to constantly evolve. And so while there is maybe the more user experience aspect of new technology, there is also an element of evolution of existing technology to keep up with time, to keep that experience safe. And that, to me, is almost like the summary of what a bank needs to think about. They need to think about how they can make the experience more convenient and more delightful while keeping the environment safe. If those two things come together, that's when a bank can be really successful. And just to close it on my key topic, I think one of the key way to deliver that is this collaboration with existing traditional bank and fintech who drive the level of innovation.